Wife planned to use me for 2 years before serving me. Divorce papers, but it blows up in her face fast. My wife thought she could play me like a cheap fiddle, stringing me along for 2 years while she siphoned my money and planned her grand exit. The divorce papers were her victory lap, but she didn't expect me to turn the tables before she could even cross the finish line. By the time the truth hit her, it was like watching a house of cards collapse in slow motion, glorious, messy, and oh so satisfying. It all started on a Tuesday evening, the kind where the air feels heavy with secrets. I came home from a grueling day at the construction site, my hands rough from work, my mind numb from routine. Claire, my wife of 5 years, was in the kitchen, her smile as polished as the marble countertops she'd insisted we install last year. "Honey, you look exhausted," she said, her voice dripping with a sweetness that hadn't been there in months. I should have known then her affection was a performance, and I was the unwitting audience. Claire had always been a planner, meticulous, calculating, the kind of woman who'd map out a grocery trip like a military campaign. When we met, I admired that about her. She was a paralegal with dreams of law school, and I was the blue-collar guy who believed in her. I worked overtime, took extra shifts, poured every cent into our life together, her education, our house, her endless needs. She'd kiss me and say, "We're building a future." Tom, I believed her. God, I believed her. But the signs were there, subtle at first. Late-night phone calls she'd take in the other room, new designer clothes she claimed were gifts from a friend, the way her eyes would glaze over when I talked about my day, like I was background noise in her carefully curated world. I thought it was stress. Maybe her chasing that law degree. I didn't know she was chasing something else entirely a way out, with my money in her pocket and another man waiting in the wings. The truth hit me like a sledgehammer one rainy afternoon. I'd come home early, a rare treat, hoping to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place. The house was quiet, too quiet, except for the faint sound of her voice from the study. I crept closer, my boots silent on the hardwood, and heard her on the phone. "2 years, Max," she said, her tone sharp, businesslike. "I'll have enough saved by then, and Tom won't see it coming. The divorce will be clean, and we'll be set." My heart stopped. The takeout bag slipped from my hand, spilling curry across the floor. I stood there, frozen, as her words sank in. She'd been playing me. For 2 years, she planned to milk me dry my savings, my trust, my life before serving me divorce papers and walking away with half of everything. And the "we" she mentioned, that wasn't me. I later found out it was Derek, some slick lawyer from her firm, all charm and no spine. They'd been plotting together, laughing at how easy it was to fool the guy who loved her. I could have confronted her right then, screamed, thrown things, let the rage take over. But something in me snapped into focus. If Claire wanted to play games, I'd play better. I spent the next few weeks gathering evidence. I wasn't a tech guy, but I learned fast checking bank statements, tracking her spending, even hiring a private investigator with what little cash I kept off her radar. The PI was worth every penny. He got photos of Claire and Derek at fancy dinners, hotel receipts, even texts where she mocked me as the ATM. Each piece was a knife in my gut, but it was also ammunition. Claire didn't suspect a thing. She kept up her act, cooking dinner, batting her eyelashes, telling me how much she appreciated me. I played along, swallowing the bile in my throat, knowing every smile was a lie. I started moving money quietly into a separate account she didn't know about. I consulted a lawyer, a grizzled old guy who'd seen every trick in the book. He laid out my options if I waited for her to file. She'd likely get alimony, half my assets, maybe more. But if I struck first, with proof of her infidelity and financial manipulation, I could turn her plan to dust. The day I decided to act, I felt like a man walking to his own execution. I loved Claire, or at least the version of her I'd built in my head. Letting that go hurt more than I could say. But I wasn't going to be her pawn. That evening, I sat her down at our dining table, the one we'd picked out together at some overpriced boutique. She looked radiant, as always, her hair perfect, her eyes bright with that calculated warmth. "What's this about, honey?" she asked, tilting her head like a curious bird. I slid a folder across the table. "Open it," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. She frowned, her fingers hesitating before flipping it open. Inside were the bank statements, the photos, the texts, her entire scheme laid bare. Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. "Tom, I can explain," she started, but I cut her off. "Don't. I heard you on the phone. 2 years, right? That's how long you were going to use me." Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping for air. For the first time, Claire, the master planner, had no script. I leaned forward, my voice low. "I filed for divorce this morning. My lawyer has everything. You're not getting a dime, and Derek's not getting his dream life either." Her eyes widened, panic setting in. She stammered, tried to cry, but the tears didn't come. She'd been caught, and she knew it. The weeks that followed were chaos. Claire tried everything, begging, yelling, even playing the victim to our friends. But the evidence was ironclad. The PI's photos made their way to her firm, and Derek's reputation took a hit. He dumped her. Of course, cowards always run when the heat's on. The divorce went through faster than I expected. Claire got nothing but her clothes and a few trinkets. I kept the house, the savings I'd protected, and, most importantly, my dignity. But victory didn't feel like I thought it would. Late at night, when the house was too quiet, I'd sit on the porch with a beer, staring at the stars, wondering where it all went wrong. I loved her. Once. Maybe part of me still did. But love doesn't survive betrayal like that. Not when it's built on lies. I rebuilt my life, piece by piece, new locks on the doors, new goals, new trust in myself. I learned to spot the signs, to value my worth, to never let someone play me again. Claire's plan blew up in her face, spectacularly. But it wasn't just about winning. It was about standing up, about refusing to be a victim in someone else's story. I don't know where she is now, and I don't care. I'm moving forward, scars and all, stronger for it. What do you think? Was I right to turn the tables? Or should I have tried to save what we had? Share your thoughts. And